before I begin, I just want you to notice the application that I have in front of me. And I want you to notice the names. These are names of people in my church, people I talk to. And these are conversations that we have: praise and worship, prayer requests, reflections, thanksgiving. And I just want you to understand the concept of this being my church. This is my church, right? And so we have Toronto UBF here. We have Washington UBF that has something similar. We have Chicago UBF that's starting something. We have Hyde Park UBF that's starting something. So I just want you to see this user interface before I start talking about it. So this is what we call Slack. See, Missionary Abraham Bay just said, hi, Calvin. Awesome. So before we start, let me just open my presentation here. And my presentation here is called Virtual Church Ministry Using Slack, or how can Slack be used for campus mission? So what is Slack, right? Right now you have so many applications in front of you. You guys heard about Facebook, you guys heard about Instagram, you guys heard about this new thing called Band. It's something that I've never heard of, but that's pretty cool. So what is Slack, right? So Slack is not like Facebook. Slack is not like WhatsApp, Cow Talk. Slack is not like, Google Drive. Slack in itself is a messaging application, but how do we conceptualize it as a church? So let me summarize Slack into three things. The first thing are channels. So what are channels really? So channels are topic of discussions that contain people who are interested in that topic only. For example, not everyone in your church participates in organizing praise and worship, maybe a subset. Not everyone in your church contributes daily to Daily Bread. Not everyone in your church honestly writes reflection, right? And not everyone in your church does announcements, but a subset of each one that make up the church contribute to the church. So what channels are really are topics of discussion that are granular and specific that only people who are interested can subscribe to, or if you contribute to it, right? And so that's what channels are. Second thing is applications. As we mentioned earlier, you guys heard a lot of applications: Band, Instagram, Facebook. Let me say some other applications: Zoom, Google Hangouts, Google Drive, OneDrive. These are all applications, right? So what Slack is a place where you could group the applications you use collectively as a church. So for example, I know some churches that use Zoom as their video conferencing. I know some churches that use Google Hangouts. Some churches use even Skype. And for file sharing, some churches use Google Drive. Other people use OneDrive. So Slack can be a place where you embed these applications and that you as a church can use together. So for example, imagine having a folder call, having a group call, St. George UBF Drive, all of you contributing to it, all of you reading from it, or having a church Zoom account that all of you use, right? So Slack is a place where you can collectively use it together. Finally, activity summary. So imagine coming back to your home, you're doing your ministry, you open Facebook, you open your Instagram, you're bombarded with information, right? And you're new to it, you're a missionary, this is something that you're new to. And how do you organize that? So Slack is it has a way for you to organize that information. So for example, threads, meaning conversations, mentions, were you mentioned anywhere today? Draft message, were you planning to send a message to someone, but you didn't send it yet? So there's a lot of organization here so that when you come into the application, you can see where you're needed or where you can contribute to. So that's the three things I'm going to say: channels, applications, and activity summary. Now, I'm going to go into the use case of our church as St. George UBF, how we use Slack. So the use case number one, it's a virtual Bible center. So this is becoming more common to us because, we are dispersed right now. We can't meet together, most of us. So our first use case is a virtual Bible center. How? Let me show you. First of all, announcements. So in our church, we get announcements every Sunday, right after the message, right after the hymn, right before the Lord's Prayer, right? Every Sunday we get announcements. Now with Slack, extend that to the whole week. Something happened on Wednesday, the church can find out, right? something happened on Tuesday, the church can find out. If the church website is down, the church finds out. Like, or if you need the Bible study questions, there's a conversation for your announcements. We live in Toronto, and many of us use the subway a lot, and sometimes the subway is down in the weekend, right? So we have someone on the bottom right here. You can notice there's a channel called TTC Subway Closures, where one of our leaders, Sam, every week he puts an update. He says, yo, the subway is not working on Saturday and on Sunday, please time accordingly. So these are announcements to your whole church. So you put everyone in your church in these channels, right? Second thing is private channels. Some channels are meant for everybody. Some channels are not meant for everybody, and we don't want to share that information with everybody. For example, let's say you have a group of Bible teachers or group of leaders in your church who are discussing private matters or very important matters regarding students, strategies, prayers, right? That you want to just have in a closed community within your church, right? So in a Slack, you have the ability to have private conversations, public conversations, right? So over here, as an example, I created a channel called Coworkers, and I wanted to talk about a strategy of how we can encourage students to develop daily bread. But we don't want the students to know right away that, this is something that we are kind of ushering in. So it's something I just want to talk with my coworkers. So Slack has the ability for you to set that up. I want to talk about church events, right? We are a church, we are continually growing, and part of our church is having events. For example, a Sunday service is an event. Thursday Bible study is an event, right? A wedding is an event. So in Slack, what we do is we organize these events. You could have, for example, a one-time event like Sam's wedding. So Sam got married to Emerald. She's from Washington, DC. He's from Toronto. They just got married like in August, right? So we created a channel just for Sam's wedding. And we contributed, does Sam need this? Does Emerald need that? What are the flight details? When are they arriving? Who's responsible for what? And you could see here, I was presenting the prayer. So I put up the prayer there. I said, can you proofread that for me? Because, I'm not great in English. So we had a channel for those conversations. And once that event ended, we archived the channel. We put it away so that in the future, when we have another person's wedding, we can go back and see, oh, how much did we spend on that? How much did we spend on this? In a way, it keeps, a history up to 1 year, right? And on the right, we have another event we call praise and worship. So, every week you do PowerPoints for your church. Who's playing the guitar? Who's playing the keyboard? What are the songs we're going to sing? Who's responsible, for the, sermon PowerPoint? We have an event for praise and worship where we regularly contribute as well. So you can see, you're starting to see how the church is still functioning without physically being there. That we are still communicating Monday to Sunday, Thursday night, Saturday night. We are still communicating, and it's transparent to everybody, right? And the next thing, part of the virtual Bible Center, which I think is very important, is a forum to share and a forum to receive. So for example, we made a channel called Prayer Requests, right? And when you have a small prayer request, when a student has something small, I have a test coming up, or, I'm struggling with this conversation that I'm having with my parents. I'm not feeling well, stuff like that, you bring up to prayer because you want to bring that to God, and you want to bring that to God as a church, right? So we created a channel called Prayer Requests, where in the beginning, the leaders, we start sharing, stuff that is vulnerable, and we notice that the students start sharing as well, right? And on the right, we have a forum to receive, in the sense like, we have a Saturday life group where we read books. Every Saturday we read a book, and then, we have questionnaires, and then we discuss it. And you can see that over here, one of the students actually, who's kind of like half driving it, she shared the book, a PDF version of the book, and she converted it, and, she put up the questions. And now the conversation surrounding the book, the conversation surrounding the Saturday life group is going on in that channel, right? So you can start to see that even as a church, even if you have 50 people, you can have 3 people talking over there, 2 people talking over here, and they can still have that conversation going without intruding one another, right? So the use case number 2, devotion and reflection facilitator. Now, what is our engine really? What is our engine, right? Our engine as a church is really our daily bread and our devotion that we do every day. And living in Toronto again, we live so far away. I went to Chicago and I went to Washington, and an amazing thing they have is that they meet in the mornings, 5:30, they get together, they do their Bible study, then they start their day. That's amazing. And not many of us have that. We all kind of live far away, and but that doesn't mean we can't share. That doesn't mean we can't do daily bread with another person, or share what we have. So just like how band, you mentioned band, we also have a channel called Daily Bread, where one or two of us shares every day, and sometimes the students share, and we get a thread going. Someone shares a passage, and when you click on that conversation, you could see someone replying to it, people giving it a heart. So for example, I'll just show you, Daily Bread. It's a channel that's going, every day someone's sharing something, people are sharing. And sometimes you get people commenting, like we are talking about something, and people comment, people give reactions. So that's what Daily Bread is. It's an everyday thing. How connected is your church every day, right? Second thing is reflection writing. Now, reflection writing in our church, it's like a page or 2 pages. Imagine putting that in a message view, right? If you're a missionary, you want to read it, it's kind of cloudy. You can't really parse that information. So with the applications that I talked about earlier, embedding Google Drive with Slack, what you can do is you just share a link of your reflection that I use Google Drive to do everything. And many of us use that too. So if you put a link there, you can get a preview, and whoever's interested can just click on it and just go to the drive and read the reflection. And you can start replying. You can just get the conversation going with someone, become more personal, right? And I like this fact about Slack, the fact that it organizes information so that it's easy for you to read. So as you notice, when I share my Daily Bread, you can format the words, the Bible verse being like formatted, and then your thoughts formatted, a link formatted. You can really format your information, right? So I like that about Slack. And Thanksgiving, I think this is the easiest tool to get students started, because maybe they are not comfortable sharing Daily Bread. I think that's a habit that needs to grow. You need to cultivate it. But Thanksgiving, that's something that even non-Christians know, right? They know that. They know how to give Thanksgiving, right? And how do we direct that to God? How do we direct that to God, right? So like in our church, we have a forum that we do Thanksgiving, and we thank God for the most simple things. Like, I thank God that, I passed my test today. I thank God that that thing that I was working on at work, I didn't have any conflicts and stuff. And then students start sharing. So Anna Koo is a third year student. And she shared in prayer request channel, she shared about her grandma not feeling well. And we as a church, we prayed for her. And, when the Lord healed her grandma, she was, convicted to post here that her grandma sounds better, and she's just sharing her personal life, really what's going on in her personal life. And as a church, we get to be a part of that, right? We thank her for sharing. And we right here, missionary Esther said that Grace Jew passed the English test, and we encourage them. And really, you can see the conversations that go on your Sunday service right after, or on Saturday. It's going on online as well. You can start to see that, right? And finally, I want to talk about personal conversations and counseling room. So as you can see in Slack, like I showed you earlier, there are conversations, and there's also like personal conversation. When you want to talk to a person directly, you can say, Sai, this is my friend Sai, and we just talk, right? So one-to-one fellowship is important, right? Let's say we are living right here. I live on my own. I live with my younger sister, but I want to talk to my church member once in a while, just ask him how he's doing, right? Slack has that too. It has that messaging service. And sometimes we just, have a Zoom call, and then we just, pray every morning, 9, we wake up, we pray together. At night, we meet again, we pray together. So Slack has this, that ability where you can jump from conversations to personal conversations to group conversations, right? So I like that about Slack. And setting up a Zoom meeting is super simple. So I just type in Zoom like this, and boom, a Zoom meeting is created. And then Sai just joins. So whatever account you have embedded, you can have your church account. So for example, if I go to the Saturday Life group and I'm like, oh, I want a Zoom meeting, boom, we have a Zoom meeting for the whole, everyone in the group can join, right? So it makes things easier. You don't have to navigate through many applications. So I like that about Slack. And as a church, we've been using it for around 15 or 16 months now. And actually, I like to invite people from other churches to join as well. So like, we don't have 100 members in our church, but in our announcements, you can see that, we have 104 people in our Slack in total, but not all of them are from our church, but we invite them to join to see if this works for their church as well. And the product of that is that, Chicago UBF started one, and Hyde Park UBF. I think York University and Ryerson University, they have one as well. I just don't have it in my thing. But I just want to share that, this is what we've been doing as a church, and it's been working. And, students start sharing. We got some students who take ownership, and it's been great. So Missionary Abraham Bay is going to talk about how Washington UBF uses it. Missionary Abraham, would you like me to use, would you like to share the screen, or would you like me to share the screen?
Maybe you can keep sharing.
Okay, yeah, I'll just stop talking.
Okay. Okay, can you move to the next?
Just a sec, just one thing I forgot. So, I showed a computer version, like in my desktop, because I'm always on my desktop. But, Missionary Esther Kim, who's part of my church, she uses the phone a lot. And this is what it looks like on the phone. So it doesn't look too complicated. There's just 3 pages. And the first page is the channels and the people. When you click on it, you go to the conversations. And when you click on the conversations, you go to the threads where you zoom in on that conversation. Sorry, I just want to show you that. And now here's the Washington UBF.
Hello, everyone. So I'll briefly talk about how the Slack is being used in Washington UBF and in neighboring chapters. So it's pretty similar to the St. George's UBF. So we use it for group or team activities like men's and women's channel, CBF teachers and parent channel, and also fellowships. Some fellowships have their own channels. It's a private channel, so only fellowship members can communicate among themselves, and fellowship leaders or board members, they have own private channels. And church operations. So we have so many Zoom links, I think over 10 Zoom links. It's hard to find all those. So I made one separate channel so that all the links are there. So members can just go and then click the links to join worship services or morning prayer meetings. And also church Wi-Fi password. I'm in charge of this. And so many people ask me, hundreds or thousands questions. So I can always direct them to this channel. Oh, go there and you will find all these passwords or building entry code and how to use some things in the bathroom or those things. And lost found, the free items can be shared in one of the channels. And online ministry, we get a lot of benefit from Slack, because each team, we have video production team, social media team, online outreach team, and Bible teachers, prayer support team. They have their own channels, and we work together in one big general channel. So that's a really great benefit for us. And Bible study question, we have one channel for that. Can you move to the next, Calvin?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so this on the left, you can see one of the example posts. So our church pastor's wife, Sarah Wang Brown, she learned how to use Canva to make this post. So where is your authority from? They asked Jesus. So she made it and then shared. And many people gave her some feedbacks. So she kept changing and she revised it 5 or 6 times, and she got much better result. And it's posted on Facebook and Instagram. You can see those. And then some people shared these free items that she doesn't need anymore with other members. And also if there's any Zoom outage that happened actually on May 17th, so we had to move to other platform like WebEx. So we shared it using this, so people quickly switch to the other platform. So this might happen again. So it's a good tool to for that kind of event. And can you move to the next?
Yeah.
And also we use this for East Coast UBF chapters Summer Bible Conference too. So preparation committee and supporting teams, and also all the members, they joined. And then this inter-chapter communication was really good for that kind of event. So this was the first online like a Bible conference for us, and it worked pretty well. And we could do timely and frequent communication. And also after finishing this event, those members between multiple chapters, over 10 chapters, we can still communicate among each other. So it's pretty good for this kind of event. Yeah, that's it.